Alright, I'm here again and I brought more updates. It took some time, but it had all the reasons to. Originally, I was planning to work on content and area variety. However, since the game obtained some modest level of renown, I have heard countless requests for an option to disable permadeath, which made me realize it's important for more people than I expected. For the record, I think that permadeath is a stupid term, and I hope that people stop using it, but I am not averse to the option requested. In fact, the idea of how to tie this mechanic with the game's narrative goes way back to the start of the project. However, its realization necessitates that I finally make a proper prologue for the game. Currently, you start a new game with a lot of events already in the past. Your contract is already signed, and though it's hinted through dialogue that the devil helped you escape a life-threatening situation, you never see that. And honestly, it's not me cosplaying as Dark Souls, I just never got to make a proper intro. Until now. But before I show you the actual prologue, let me introduce you to my narrators. They have no names, I call them the writer and the friend. The metanarrative, as a proper video essayist would call it, is that they are working on the book. The events described in the book are the events of the game. Every game over is a failed draft. Those narrations appear on game start, on game over, and in the place of cutscenes. Most of them have more than one variant or account for repeat playthroughs, which will hopefully keep the players interested for a while. As the narration ends, we see ourselves in the alchemist's house, sometime before the main events. After a short dialogue with an errand boy, we receive a simple quest to prepare a potion, which I feel makes for a more accurate first impression than before. The old tutorial on crafting was kind of terrible and awkwardly placed. Now, learning about components and crafting is part of the introductory quest instead, still in the safety of your home with no apparent dangers. We take the needed components from our supplies, prepare them and make a potion. And that's when everything goes to hell. Our protagonist is arrested and thrown into a jail. Of all the items, however, it's the potion that survives and lets him get out. A short dungeon follows, with a few more mechanics explained, like throwing potions, pushing objects, hidden switches. You pass through the disused parts of the prison, descend into the lower passages, and inevitably meet a dead end, but the devil is waiting for you, with the best deal of your life. You can of course refuse, but without his help, you cannot escape the dungeon, and the guards will soon find you. In other words, it's game over. Still, it's your choice to make. If you agree, you can decide the exact terms of the contract. The devil will always help you get out, and you will always have to give up your soul, but you choose the additional terms. They are essentially difficulty modes: a single life, 3 extra lives, or infinite lives. The first option comes with the knowledge of all languages and affinity for learning. That's currently just flavor, but will probably have an effect on the story later. It's the way the game worked before and the intended level of challenge. The second one gives you some extra safety. If you die, the devil teleports you to the lonely tree, and your health is restored. However, after 3 deaths, you run out of tries and it's still game over. The last option is the same but without the limit. There is one detail that might be controversial. I will only make this third option available in the paid version of the game. This will be for now the only difference between versions, and as I said, I'm aiming for the game to be beatable without dying anyway. As the contract is signed, Devil transports you to the lonely tree where the game used to start before. The rest of the prologue plays almost without change, except that most tutorials are no longer there. After you reach Ricardo, just like before, it becomes possible to skip the prologue. The difference, in addition to the variety of open narrations, is that despite starting in your room, you will still have a dialogue with the devil, in a sort of flashback, so that you can still choose the difficulty. Which you can always check by reading the contract along with the number of remaining lives if applicable. The death screen's design also changed, with text variations to keep you from getting bored, plus, assuming you have extra lives, a short talk with the devil. He would even comment sometimes about the option that you chose and remind you if you used up all your lives. And that was it. A lot of writing, a better prologue, and a different mode. Even though I'm lazy, I will continue my updates here, and I also show small pieces on my Twitter from time to time, so subscribe if you're interested. You can also check out the current version of the game on itch if you follow the link in the description. See you soon!